Céad Míle Fáilte, 100,000 welcomes to the Kerry Writer Museum's beautiful storytelling festival. And what a time we're having so far. The people that have come along have been so generous with their input and their advocation of the resilience that stories lends to the lives of everybody. We're so delighted to be funded by the Department of Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht and the Kerry County Council. So this couldn't have happened without their help. So thank you very much for letting that happen. And I want to say thank you so much as well to Lizzie Strausser. She is in the background doing all the technical stuff. And again, this couldn't come to you unless we had Lizzie's know-how. So now is the time that I share my stories with you. And through the beautiful workshop we did on the resilience stories and through the chat that has been coming in and out since then, I've decided that I'm going to start off with a story from the 6-part mechanism. So this is a modern story, and it's how generations get divided, and more so in this century, which is still a young century than before. So what does that cost us? It costs us the wisdoms coming from yesteryear into the new generations and their ability to be able to put their stamp on it and hand it over to other generations. So when I was talking to the older population of Cork City, we made this story together. Nancy came to live in Cork City, and she just thought how difficult life had become. Everybody spent their time on screens now, looking into these small little boxes or typing away on a bigger screen. But very rarely now did anybody take the time to look into one another's eyes or to smile at one another. And she found it difficult in this new place. Her daughter was in one of the schools there, and her daughter was finding it hard as well. She said, "Mom, it's not that I want a lot of things, but I have to look a certain way. And if I don't, and if I'm different, I get treated differently." And so her mother struggled to put her in the best clothes she could possibly afford. And still, she was treated differently. And then it escalated into bullying. And Nancy became worried for her daughter. So she went to the older women's group and she told them her story. And they said, "Girl, that happened to us too." And she said, "No, it's different," she said. "All these ads are coming in on the small screens and the big screens, and they get no break from it. And they're told to get things because they're worth it, all of this." The old women looked at her and they said, "People don't listen to us anymore. But we had that too, girl. Do you not think we had the big brown parcels coming from England and America? And the postman would knock on someone's door and all the eyes would be up at the twitching curtains, hungry for something new. And if they came out and they were wearing the new style and they said, 'Look at this from New York,' we'd use the 'Sure, what about it?'" And Nancy said, "What's the 'Sure, what about it?'" And she said, "If somebody said something like that to you, you say, 'Sure, what about it?' And then they have to boast more or they have to get back in their box. And no one likes a boaster." "I remember that," Nancy said. "I remember that from when I was young and people were kinder to one another. I'm not sure that it would work today." But she went home and she talked about it so much that her daughter, Mary, she took it on board. And eventually Mary went into school and one of the young kids came up and they looked at her and they said, "Reebok, €60, because I'm worth it." And she looked at the shoes and she said, "Sure, what about it?" And as soon as she said that, The other girl didn't have an answer. She didn't want to come back and make herself look bad, and she couldn't think of an answer. So she went home, and of course, all of this information comes from the adults. So her parents said, you go in tomorrow and you tell her that you're from a two-income family and that we can afford this, and all of the other messages that we've been listening to in this century. But here's the magic of story. Because when the girl went in and said that, the information had landed already in Mary's heart, and she wasn't going to give it up that easily. So she listened, nodding away, as the other girl told her about the two-income families and the money coming in, etc., etc. And at the end of it, she left a little silence, and then she said, because you're worth it, because they saw you coming. The other girl said, what do you mean? She said, they saw you coming. Sure, you could get every different colour in pennies and still have enough money left over to go to the cinema. And that is how the wisdom of yesteryear landed in the heart of our young today.